question? Go ahead, Thompson.
No, I was just going to say how it came that
Okay, all right. So, first we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, and we want to say Baruch Atah Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahushai to all of our listeners and those who tune in to the teaching each week. On behalf of myself and Captain, we want to just greet you all in the name of our soon-coming King Yahushai.
That's right.
So, the lesson we're going to do today it's kind of like a spin-off from a lesson that we've been covering, which is we all have to say the same thing.
That's right. Come.
Because we should be when we're breaking down the scriptures. And let's quickly, if you please, let's go to one of the scriptures that is constantly under the microscope, Romans chapter 9. I don't know how many times I've covered it, but it's still under scrutiny by many because there are those who confuse the issue. They confuse the issue. Go ahead, Captain, let's read Romans chapter 9, beginning at verse 4.
Come. The book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 4, it reads, Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption?
So, notice what it says. It says, read it one more time.
Who are Israelites?
Stop. So it says, who are Israelites? Now, one would beg to ask the question, why is the Israelites being written about in the book of Romans?
Come.
Why? What's the purposes of that? Well, the purposes of that is because the Romans were also, not all, but the Romans that he was writing to were Israelites who lived in Rome.
That's right.
Because remember, it was under Claudius, where Claudius had all of the Jews. They were banished from Rome and had to get out. This is why, when you read a few hundred years later about the Spanish Inquisition, that took place because the Jews, and I'm trying my best not to use the term black Jews because there's no such thing as black Jews. Jews are just Jews. But we have some people who call themselves Jewish, and therefore there's a confusion. Hopefully we will clear all that up on the Sabbath. But here we have Jews who live in Rome. They're Israelites, but they live in Rome as Roman citizens. Remember, Paul himself was a Roman citizen.
Acts 2:22.
So as a Roman citizen, it meant that when he left Rome or when he traveled throughout Asia Minor, he was treated like a Roman. That's why, remember, when they beat him and he turned around and said, is this what you do to a Roman? That the very mayor of the city, he began to become afraid because he knew that if he was reported, he could be put to death because no Roman, no other nation could put their hands on them. None of them. It's kind of like how things operate today with America. You get an American going abroad, America will raise hell to get that person back. I noticed they didn't get too hot one time when there was a Negro aboard, but that's a whole different story. But when we read here, it says this. Read it again for me, please.
Romans chapter 9 and verse 4. Who are Israelites?
You should underline that. Who are Israelites? Go on.
To whom pertaineth the adoption?
Stop. Now, it's important you write it down. Write it down. Now, there's a saying that I was raised with, that the shortest pencil is longer than the longest memory. So you must write things down. Stop trying to think that you can remember it, because you can't and you won't. Because I guarantee you, when I finish this lesson, I'm going to ask some of you about some of the things that we've just discussed. And you're going to look going, when I know that I've explained it well. So here we go. It says that the Israelites, to whom, what?
Pertaineth the adoption.
Pertaineth the adoption. The adoption is pertained only to the Israelites. Go on, sir, read.
And the glory.
And the glory. Is that what it says?
Con.
Read.
And the covenants.
Now, when it says the glory, what does it mean, and the glory? Yes, sir.
Grace and peace, sir. The glory means the authority and the power of what will be given to us in the kingdom.
In the kingdom.
That's right.
The glory represents all of the authority and the power we will have. Remember what I just said about the Romans. A Roman couldn't go anywhere where the nations did not respect them. That's why you'll hear that when back in the day when America was at its highest, wherever an American went, it was almost like they were film stars, because they were looked at like celebrities, because America carried the weight, carried the swing, so-called. But then it says, read.
And the covenants.
Now, when it says the covenant, what does it mean by the covenant? What does it mean by the covenant? Yes, Rala.
The laws.
Means what?
The law. The law.
Yeah, but you got to give me more than that.
Con.
To say the laws, you simplified it, really. Remember, all right, let's hear it from yourself. Go ahead, Doctor.
Grace and peace, sir.
Grace and peace.
The covenants deals with the old covenant that was made with Abraham and the promises that he gave to him about taking care of, looking out for about what would be given to his seed. And the new covenant was us getting the laws and statutes and commandments written in our hearts.
Well, first of all, you got to recognize we weren't just given one covenant.
That's right.
There were other covenants. What were they called? We had the Abraham.
The Abrahamic covenant.
We had
the Mosaic.
We had the Mosaic.
Abrahamic covenant, Mosaic covenant.
Abraham.
David, the covenant with David.
The Davidic.
The Davidic covenant.
Davidic covenant. Right? So we've had many covenants.
Con.
We haven't just had one. So the reason why I have to put that out there is because many of us will only speak about the covenant, the new covenant. We've had other covenants.
That's right.
So it's important that we get that point. But switching back real quickly, let's go back to the adoption. What does the adoption mean? Because I didn't ask that question. What does that mean? What's that dealing with? No, my brother at the back. My brother at the back. My brother at the back. Tell me what it is. What is it? What is the adoption?
Grace and peace.
Grace and peace, sir.
Was that the Jew that was living in foreign areas? Living in foreign areas, being adopted back into the covenant?
Yeah, pretty much, yes. The Jews that were living in foreign areas as the countries that they were born into or raised into. Come on? All right. So let's before we go through the rest of them, let's deal with the adoption for a quick minute. Run with me, if you please, to the book of Isaiah, chapter 7. The book of Isaiah, chapter 7, and we're going to begin reading, if you please, at verse 8. Let's explain that, make that as clear as we can. All right. So go ahead, Captain.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 7 and verse 8. For the head of Syria is Damascus.
Stop. So why does it say, for the head of Syria is Damascus? All right, read on.
Con. It says, and the head of Damascus is Rezin.
Is what?
Is Rezin.
Is resin. So why does it say resin? Go on.
Con. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people.
So it's telling you there, and if you're making notes, Esau will be broken away. Broken away. All right, but we need to explain that. Stay there. No, let's move on from there quickly. Where would we go to prove the breaking away? Brothers, sisters, where would we go?
Okay, now, grace and peace.
Grace and peace.
We're dealing with the breaking away of Esau from them. That would be...
But breaking away what, sir?
Ephraim. Hosea.
Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 4. Let's begin at verse 17.
Come. The book of Ephraim, chapter 4.
The book of what, sir?
The book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 17. It reads, Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone.
Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone.
Come.
So now, that's all I want you to pay attention to me. I want you to listen to me. I want you to look at me. I want you to glean this. Yeah, I know you were, sir. I know you were. So forgive me for interrupting you just for a quick minute. But I want you to get this. Ephraim is joined to idols.
That's right.
So Ephraim, they decided to go the way of the nations that they were among. And they became hardened idol worshippers.
That's right.
Right? Now, read it one more time for me, please, and we'll precept it.
Come. Hosea chapter 4 and verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone.
Let him alone. Okay? Now, I'm trying to keep it simple. That's why I'm not getting involved in the verse previous or the verse after. I want to keep it as simple as I possibly can. If I start going into verse before and start reading that and explaining that, then you will lose track. I need you to understand clearly that when we go back to Isaiah chapter 7, and let's read, if you please, verse 8 again. Read what it says.
Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 8. For the head of Syria is Damascus.
Read.
And the head of Damascus is Rezin.
Go on.
And within 65 years.
So the Most High is even letting you know the exact time frame within that period. This is what's going to happen to Ephraim. Read.
Shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people.
They're going to be broken. Now the word broken, there's a few other meanings surrounding it, but I'm trying to keep it simple here. Because yes, it's dealing with them breaking away. Yes, it's dealing with them breaking the covenant. It's a whole lot that you could put in there. But I just want to keep it simple right now. All right? So they're going to be broken away. Now, when we go back over to Hosea chapter 4 and 17, now we're seeing the connection, right? That's why you need to keep, if you have strips, put a strip in Isaiah chapter 17 and put a strip in Hosea chapter 4, right? Now let's run real quick to 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 2. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 2.
Yes, sir.
Now we're coming back to Hosea, but I just want to quickly run there because I just want to bring out a point there.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. It reads, Ye know that ye were Gentiles.
See? So now look what it's saying. We're gonna come back and read it again down the road. But I want to read it early enough now so you see the context that it's written in.
Come.
Now it says what, sir?
Ye know that ye were Gentiles.
So it's saying we as Israel were Gentiles. We were Gentiles. Why is that so important? Because we have to prove to those naysayers when they turn and say, well, the Gentiles talking about the other nations of the world who are engrafted in my foot. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's speaking about only Israel who acted so wickedly that they were looked at just like the other nations. That's why it says, read it again for me, please, sir.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away.
See? Carried away. Go on.
Unto these dumb idols.
All right. Hold that. Don't finish it just yet. But go back. Read Hosea chapter 4 and 17.
Hosea chapter 4 and verse 17. Ephraim is joined to idols.
See that? And watch what the Most High God said. Leave him out there with them.
Come.
Let him stay out there with them and let it destroy him. Now, when we go back now to 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and finish it and include the latter clause, now watch what the latter clause of, we're going to read it all through, but with particular emphasis on the latter clause. Read, sir.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols.
Unto these dumb idols. Go on.
Even as ye were led.
You were led. You let it lead you out.
Come.
I gave you perfection. I gave you the laws that would make you head and shoulders above all the nations of the world.
That's right.
But what did you choose to do? You chose to follow a dumb idol that doesn't even speak. But I've sent angels who walked among you.
That's right.
But you preferred a dumb idol that you saw the man make it and put it in the oven the other day and took it out, painted it, and sold it to you
Come.
for 3 and 6 I'm going back in time. All right? So that's what you allowed it to do to you. Now, remember, precept that, precept it. Hosea chapter 4 and 7 with 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 2 showed you that, right? So make sure you do it, because that's your cleanser right there. That ties together the Gentiles and the idol worshiping. Con? Now, when we go back down to Hosea chapter 4, I want us now, if you please, let's see. We can jump with me to go to 8. Hosea chapter 8. Hosea chapter 8. And we're going to read verse 4.
Come. The book of Hosea, chapter 8 and verse 4.
And verse 4. And highlight it. If it's not highlighted up in your book, highlight it up. Go on.
They have set up kings, but not by me.
Stop. They did what?
They have set up kings, but not by me.
The Most High said, I didn't sanction this. I already know who your king's meant to be.
Come.
Where do you get off setting up kings? Read it, sir. I see your hand, sir.
Come. It reads, they have made princes, and I knew it not.
Well, hold it. He said that, how is it even possible that the Most High God doesn't know this? How does he not know? Well, he does know, really. He does know. But it's a figure of speech. Meaning, you didn't come and consult with me.
That's right.
Since I'm your sovereign God.
Come.
But you chose it upon yourself to make a decision that's going to alter the direction of Israel forever.
That's right.
And when we say forever, it feels like ever when you go all the way back then to where we are right now. That's like forever. Now, watch what it goes on to say. Read on for me, Captain.
Of their silver and their gold.
Of their silver and their gold. Read.
Have they made them idols.
There it is again. So you see, the key to all of this mess is the fact that we chose to worship a statue over a real God who has manifested himself in so many different ways. Imagine, we have seen his fathership. Our foreparents told about it. Even when they came over to America as slaves, they sang about swing low, sweet chariot. Yet we chose idols made from clay. And if you picked up your God and you dropped him, he broke. Read, sir.
That they may be cut off.
See, that's what caused us to be cut off. Now again, you could read the verse previous to that, which is verse 3, and you could read verse 5, and I would strongly suggest that you do that, but I'm keeping it simple for you to be able to prove your point when the time comes for you to prove it.
That's right.
That's all I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to get all technical and all deep and all that. I want it just straightforward. They can say, look, let me show it. Boom, right here. Let's go from there, Isaiah 7. Let's go from there, Hosea chapter 4. Let's go to Hosea chapter 8 and verse 4. Real simple, real straightforward, Make sense so far? All right. So from here now, what I want you to do, I want you to, let's see. I don't want to miss my points now. I want to make sure that you do get this. Yes, let's go, if you please, to John chapter 4 and 12. John chapter 4 and 12. Mm-hmm.
Come. The book of John, chapter 4 and verse 12.
Go on.
It reads, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well?
Now, remember, watch what it says. Are you greater than our father Jacob? Now, here is what I hope you did when you were back in Hosea chapter 8 and verse 4. It says, the latter clause is what you want to underline. You want to underline that. Because it says that they may be cut off.
Come.
You see, you want to make sure that you underline that because that's a key word. Can't? Remember, we're dealing with key words and what else?
Relatable text.
Relatable what?
Text,
Good. And?
keywords.
Key words. Well, we said that earlier. Familiar text. That's the word I wanted. Familiar text. Can't? So from here, watch what it says in John chapter 4 and verse 9. Read for me, please, Captain.
The book of John, chapter 4 and verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him,
Go on.
How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me?
Now, why is that so important? The reason why that's so important is because, notice, this woman recognizes that there's a history between us. Because she, read it one more time, sir. Read it one more time.
Come, the book of John, chapter 4 and verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria.
So she's identified. And who she identified with? She's identified with Samaria.
Come.
Now, Samaria is also a lock-in for Ephraim. Hmm? You got the precept?
Yeah.
All right, I thought you would. Okay, very good. So before we finish that, we're going to read. Go ahead. Go back and read.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 7 and verse 9.
Now we're going to read verse 9. We're still coming back to it later, but we're reading it now because it's a continuation of what we just read in verse 8.
Come.
Watch what it says now. Listen.
Isaiah chapter 7 verse 9. The head of Ephraim.
So now it's telling you who is the head of Ephraim. Read, sir.
Is Samaria.
Is Samaria. Finish it, sir.
And the head of Samaria is Ramaliah's son. If ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established.
So now when we go back to St. John chapter 4 and verse 9, now it brings it into perspective. It's clear now why the scriptures mentioned her as a Samaritan.
Come.
Read.
The book of John, chapter 4 and verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him,
Go on.
How is it that thou, being a Jew,
Now remember, this is why I don't like to read the scriptures too quickly, because there's too many gems there that we read over.
come.
So it says, read again for me, Captain, please.
Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that...
How is it? In other words, this doesn't make sense.
Come.
This makes no sense whatsoever. You come to me, and I know how you folk are. You scorn us. We are of you, but you scorn us.
Mm.
Why do you scorn us? Because you believe that we have dabbled in unclean things. Now remember, if someone is dabbling in unclean things, you wouldn't even want a cup of water from them.
Come.
Because you know that their hands is defiled, that anything they touch then is defiled. How can I take the water from you?
That's right.
That's the deepness of this thing.
Come.
But then watch what she said. Read it again for me, please.
How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me?
See? Making it clear. That means my hand's going to have to pick up the thing and get the water. And I know how you feel towards us, we people.
Mm-hmm.
Read.
Which am a woman of Samaria.
Which am a woman of Samaria. See that? Read.
For the Jews.
For the Jews. Now remember, when she uses the term Jews, remember she's used it twice, because she used it just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why she uses Jew is for what reason?
Because Jew representing Judah.
Jew represents Judah.
Khan.
Because that's what Judah is called. That's why when you hear someone call them a Jew, really what you're saying that you are of Judah. But that is not correct to all of the 12 tribes, because it's only really 3 groups out of the 12 that is called Jew. Who are they? Go ahead at the back.
You got, praise the preacher, you got Judah, Benjamin, Levi.
Good. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they're the ones that the term Jew is usually synonymous to.
Khan.
It's, in other words, it is a name that's linked to them, right? So whenever you hear the term Jew, it's always talking about Judah first, because Judah is the one where it comes from. But the Benjamites are also called Jews,
right.
as well as the Levites.
Come.
Now, how do we know this? Because Paul is a Benjamite, yet he was called a Jew. See that? It's written in the book of Acts, can't?
Khan.
All right. So now that we understand it, let's continue to read. So read.
For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans.
The Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans. Is that what it says there?
Khan.
Now, why do they have no dealings with them? Because remember, there's a scorning thing going on there, right? Because they were broken off. They were in idolatry. They were in sin. And as such, they did everything that was despicable because they weren't keeping the laws,
Khan.
statutes, and commandments. Come? All right. So now that we should I read on a little bit more? Yes, read on a little bit more. So read
Verse 10. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God.
So, in other words, you really don't know who's standing in front of you. Because you're looking at the gift.
Mm-hmm.
And the gift is here to unwrap himself for you. And so when the gift is asking you to give him something to drink, you sure enough better do it real quick.
That's right.
Because I'm here to be a blessing to you. And all I'm asking for the blessing of the water is for you to give me, beg your pardon, for you to give me the water, I'm going to give you a blessing that's going to bring you back
That's right.
into the fold. Because he's the gift. Remember, Yahushua is the one who had to die.
Come.
So he's the gift for all of the 12 tribes. And you know what they keep teaching us in the world? He died for everybody. He died for the black man, the China man, the this, that, and that. And no, he didn't.
Come.
He only died for Israel.
That's right.
And we can prove. Let's go to Matthew, sir.
Yes.
Matthew chapter 4.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go to that one.
The book of Matthew, chapter 4. And when we start at verse 12?
Yes, sir.
The book of Matthew, chapter 4, and verse 12. Now when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt at Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali.
See? Zebulun and Naphtali. Why? Because they are what? They are Israelites of what? Northern kingdom. Well done.
Come.
Read on, sir.
That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet.
See
saying,
that? Isaiah the prophet spoke of it in what chapter of Isaiah? We just read it.
7 verses.
What is wrong with me?
She got excited.
Exactly.
That's right.
She got excited.
Right. So in Isaiah chapter 7 and verse what? All right. So let's read on now.
Come, it reads, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan,
Go on.
Galilee of the Gentiles.
See that? Galilee of the Gentiles. See that? That's the beautiful thing about it. It's making it very clear. All right. Read on, sir.
Come, it reads, the people which sat in darkness saw great light.
Hold on. It says the people that sat in darkness saw a great light. What people is it speaking about? Can somebody tell me? What people is it speaking about? All right, let's go with yourself. Grace and peace. Go ahead, sir. Speaking about the Israelites. All right, let's go back. Read it again for me, sir.
Come. It reads, the land of Zebulun, in the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan,
Beyond Jordan.
Galilee of the Gentiles.
Galilee of the Gentiles, which is of the Jews. Go on.
The people which sat in darkness saw a great light.
Only one people have been sitting in darkness.
Come.
Go on.
And Salakia.
And to be more specific, you're talking about the northern kingdom. Israelite part of the northern kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Come.
Thank you for that input there. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Read it, sir.
The people which sat in darkness saw a great light.
Saw a great light. Now let's drop that if you please, and let's just quickly shoot up to chapter 5. Now, do we really want to go there? No, we don't want to go. All right. So let's get back on track. So let's go back if you please, and let's read John again.
Come. The book of John, chapter 4 and verse 10, it reads, Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God,
Go on.
and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink,
Give me to drink. Go on.
thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water.
Living water.
God.
The substance that will cause you to live forever. All right. So from here, let's quickly move back, if you please, to Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9, but let's go back to verse 4.
That's right.
Let's read.
The book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 4. Who are Israelites?
Who are what?
Who are Israelites?
You notice throughout the scriptures, it keeps on pushing the emphasis, Israelites, Israelites, Israelites. He said, I've not come but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Come.
But let's go there.
That's right. The book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24.
Let's read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 15 and verse 24. It reads, but he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So you notice the emphasis is always going back to Israel. It's not speaking about. People say, well, see, he came for the Galatians. Yeah, but it's speaking about Israel in Galatia.
Come.
Oh, see, the scripture speaking about the Corinthians. No, he's speaking about Israel in Corinth. You see, it's only speaking about Israel. And because we have been scattered into the four corners of the earth, that's why he keeps making references of these nations where we have been scattered to. Come? All right. Now, with that in mind, 1 Corinthians, I'm sorry. Let's go back and read it. Let's finish verse 4. Let's read it.
Romans chapter 9, verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption?
The adoption, which is to be brought back. So Israel is going to be brought back. Okay, go on.
And the glory.
The glory, we will receive power and glory and authority in the kingdom. Go on.
And the covenants.
And the covenant. There's been more than one covenant, come? But the covenant that we are primarily speaking about is the law.
Come.
Go on.
And the giving of the law.
And the what?
And the giving of the law.
And the giving of the law. Who was the law given to?
Israel.
Israel. So how do we know this? All you got to do is remember John 3, 14. Let's go to John 3 and 14, not 16.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
The book of John, chapter 3 and verse 14. It reads, and as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness.
So the question that you have to ask yourself, who was in the wilderness? You see, Israel. Was there any other nation in the... Nah. Read it again, please.
This is John chapter 3, verse 14. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness,
Go on.
even so must the Son of Man be lifted up.
Must be lifted up. All right, so let's get back on track. Let's go back. Let's finish off verse 4.
Come, Romans chapter 9, verse 4. And the covenants, and the giving of the law,
And the giving of the law, go on.
and the service of God.
So the service of God deals only with Israel. And when we say service, what does that mean? Now, we've covered this many times, so you should know that by now. What are the services? What do you see these other faith or religious groups doing? What do they do? In other words, they've taken what's ours
That's right.
and they have magnified it to look like it belongs to them.
That's right.
All right, so what are the things? You, man. I can't say I heard you before when you give me the answer when you're cheating, but now after you answer, you go quiet now.
Do you mean the titles?
Yes,
Yeah, elders and ministers and.
calm. All the terms that they are now using as prophets and priests,
Come.
they have adopted those things, but they're ours. Because there's only one place you can get a true prophet.
That's right.
Only in Israel.
Come.
Even the scripture tells us that. Come on. All right. So let's finish that up, please, sir.
Come. And the promises.
And what?
And the promises.
So the services of God and the promises.
Come.
And the promises are unto whom? Only Israel. He has made no promises to no. If you could show me a scripture where it says he made the promises to the other nations, I'll be a monkey's uncle. That's never gonna happen.
Come.
So it's never gonna happen. Okay.
That's right.
So from here, let's go to 1 Corinthians, please. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Let's put a little bit more hummus on this, shall we?
Come.
So 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and let's read verse 2. Let's go back there again.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12 and verse 2.
Go on.
Ye know that ye were Gentiles.
Ye were Gentiles. We were Gentiles, right? Okay. Now let's give you some precepts to go with that, if you don't mind. Let's go to 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and 6, to show you how we were truly destroyed. They made laws that forced us from being who we are to being something else. Let's read.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 6. It reads, Neither was it lawful for a man to keep...
Hold on. In fact, you just expound on that. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Khan. Well, during the Maccabean period, you did have some wicked Israelites, but also those who were defenders of the truth were still under bondage in the Greek captivity. So if they would try to keep the Most High God's laws or ancient feast days, we would be slaughtered or tortured.
All right. So it tells us that the laws they set up was to stop us from calling ourselves Jews,
Khan.
from keeping our Sabbaths, and from all circumcision of our sons. We couldn't do any of that.
That's right.
Because if we did it, the scripture says that we were killed. In fact, let's read that. Let's go back and just read it one more time, if you please.
Khan. 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 6.
Jump down to verse 9, please.
Khan. Verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
See? The manners of the Gentiles. That means the Gentiles it's speaking about is what type of Gentiles? Go ahead, sir. The natural Gentiles.
Heathens.
Right? Natural Gentiles. These are people who are Gentiles because that's who they are. They're the heathens.
Khan.
Right? We became Gentiles, as in what type of Gentiles did we become? What does the scripture say that what type of Gentiles we are? Go ahead. You, sir.
Okay, grace and peace. We were the Gentiles that were separated from our heritage, Jeremiah 17:4.
Yes, but what did it call it? What type of Gentiles were we? Go on. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We became Hellenized.
Hellenized.
You see? It's a Jew acting like you're not, but like the nations.
Khan. Khan.
You see? And the reason why that word is so important is because when we read out of the Maccabees, that was during the period where that term became so prominent.
That's right.
Hellenistic Jews. Con? You call yourself American.
Con.
Truth is, you're not Americans. You call yourself Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and all the rest of it. But you're none of those things. Con? All right. So let's see if we can give a little bit more meat. Let's go back and read it again, if you please. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2. Let's read.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 2.
Go on.
Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols.
Dumb idols. Let's prove that. Jeremiah chapter 2. Jeremiah chapter 2. Who could tell me what verse? Surely you could tell me what verse. Jeremiah chapter 2. Anybody? Let's go. Jeremiah chapter 2. Let's read verse 11. Let's read.
Con, the book of Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 11. Have a nation changed their gods,
See that? Go on.
which are yet no gods,
Go on.
but my people
My people. Read.
have changed their glory.
You've changed your power. You've changed your birthright. Read.
For that which doth not profit.
And it doesn't profit you anything. Because you changed your position and you've received no power or authority with it. In
That's
fact,
right.
you've lost everything. See that? That's a good verse to lay hold of. All right, now, let's go back now to, because obviously we were carried away with dumb idols as we were led. So now let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
Con.
And let's begin at verse 1.
The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1, it reads, Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all...
Stop. So it said that you shouldn't be ignorant. So what is it telling us that we shouldn't be ignorant of? Come on. Right in front of you. Just write it. Read it again for me, please, Ken.
1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers
Hold
were...
it. It says, now we're reading from the Corinthians, and it's saying how that all our fathers.
That's right.
Go on.
Con, all our fathers were under the cloud,
Well, under the cloud, go on.
and all passed through the sea.
All passed through the sea. And according to history, according to legend, according to the scriptures, only the Israelites passed through the sea.
That's right.
And read.
And were all baptized.
And they were what?
And were all baptized.
All baptized. Go on.
Unto Moses.
Unto Moses. Go on.
In the cloud and in the sea.
In the cloud and in the sea.
Con.
Read.
And did all eat the same spiritual meat.
And so, again, that is getting a bit heavy there. I mean, we could read it simplistically, but there's more behind that than what meets the eye. So we ate spiritual food, spiritual meat. Read it again for me, please, sir.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea.
In the cloud and in the sea. So we had spiritual food, spiritual meat, so to speak. Con? All right, let's see if we can hit that with the scripture there. Who would give me a scripture to go with that? Where would we go? Let's go to Exodus. Who can tell me where in Exodus? Exodus chapter 17. because of time. Otherwise, I would kind of wade out a little bit.
Come.
But you're going to have to tell me what verse, though. So, Exodus chapter 17. Who can tell me the rest? Who can tell us the rest? Anyone? Are we there yet? Okay, begin reading from verse 5, sir.
The book of Exodus, chapter 17, verse 5. And the Most High said unto Moses, Go on before the people,
Go on.
and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod, wherewith thou smotest the river, take in thine hand, and go.
Go on.
Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel.
Go on.
And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the shidling of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Most High, saying, In the Most High, among us or not.
And the word chidling means contention.
Come.
All right. So let's go back and let's read verse 3 again back in 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
Come. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 3. And did all eat the same spiritual meat,
Go on.
and did all drink the same spiritual drink.
So the spiritual meat and the spiritual drink, showing you that the very meat that you had came from the heavens.
Come.
The very drink that you had came from the Most High, because he redirected a well of water to come through a rock that was struck in order for it to open up. Now that's spiritual. So our people had spiritual meat and spiritual water.
Come.
Now you got to, again, I'm trying to keep it simple because otherwise we get too heavy into the significance of it. And the significance is that the spiritual meat only belongs to Israel.
That's right.
The spiritual water only belongs to Israel. No one else. So remember, what our ancestors drank and ate stayed in their system, that as they reproduced their children into the future, what they drank is in us. To this day, that spiritual meat, that water is in you today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it in everybody? Well, you've got to get back to this truth in order for it to be made alive.
Come.
Why? Because we were dead, and now we live.
Come.
You see. Now, when you're alive, and when you're in the congregation of those who are living in the truth, all of what was in our fathers and mothers, going all the way back, our foreparents, is now in us. Now, isn't that something? Now, I could take it somewhere else, but I don't want to because I'm trying to keep it very simple.
That's right.
Huh? Any questions so far? Notice I'm not rushing it, taking it really easy. So, yes, sir. Go ahead.
But I'm going to a whole other area. We were dead in our trespasses and sins.
We were dead in our trespasses and sins, sir. We received spiritual. Listen, when we were walking through the wilderness, where were we going to get food?
Mm.
Where were we going to get water? But he made water come from nowhere.
That's right.
He made the food fly down to us. He made the manna drop down from heaven. And remember, the very word manna means what? What is this? That isn't what it means. What is this?
Oh, what is
Mm-hmm.
Manna from heaven. We ate that. Do you think that was just a, listen, how do you think, the temptation of these things. How do you think we're going to be nourished when we go back to the wilderness?
God.
How do you think? Go ahead.
But isn't this a similitude for the word? All of this.
Yes, indeed. Everything also is applicable to the word.
That's right.
Everything. Because remember, there is a double connotation to this, to us. Remember, other nations read this. Then why is it that they don't get the revelation that we get? Because it's written to you.
That's right.
And remember, what's in your spirit is a witness to this. You see,
Yeah, can't do it.
No,
Can't do it.
go ahead. Go ahead. You had a question, sir?
Okay, I'm gonna get it wrong. I'll wait till the thing is
No,
over.
go on. In case it may be relevant to who's here.
Okay, well, it gets back to what we were talking about earlier then. That means that all of these things lie dormant in our DNA until we come back to the realization of who we are.
When you come back to life, there's an awakening in you. You see? What did David say? David said, "Thy word."
Mm-hmm.
How about
It's a
hidden?
lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path.
What?
Thy word have I hid in my heart, which is my mind, that I might not sin against thee. That's why the more you eat this word, the more you learn and you consume, the more this word becomes a part of you. And it's hard, it becomes even hard to sin because this is just a part of you. That's why the Hebrew boys couldn't sin. That's why Daniel couldn't sin. That's why the prophets couldn't sin. When he said to him, "I want you to go and take human dung and make cakes with it and eat it," and he said, "Not so, Lord. From when I was young to where I am now, I have never ate or consumed anything that would defile me." What a thing that a man could say. From you were a child to the time you become a man.
God.
What? That's what it's telling us. So when you let this get in you, it's revitalizing you and bringing back you to who you are in this word. All right. Any other question? Yes, please. Grace and peace.
But isn't it, just like when he met the woman at the well,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it trying to tell us that it's more important that we know, despite what we think is righteous, that it's more important we know who he is, so that because he said you don't even know who stands in front of you.
Correct.
When I ask you, if I, like he said to Hosea, go and marry a prostitute, it's like, no, I've never done that. No, we're all righteous in our own way, but when he comes before us,
Is that a question or it's a statement?
No, is that what it's saying? That it's more important that we know who he is?
Back to John, chapter 4. Let's read verse 11.
Come, the book of John, chapter 4 and verse 11. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep.
Go on.
From whence then hast thou that living water?
See, he's going all the way back to the wilderness.
Come.
You see, he's going all the way back there. Because this is the water. He is the water that wasn't in the well.
Come.
Read.
Art thou greater than our father Jacob,
And the answer to that is yes. Go on.
which gave us the well?
See, and notice, she made sure that she included herself in that.
Come.
So the northern kingdom included herself with Yahweh to say, art thou greater than our father? Our father.
Come.
No other nation can say that. That's why we can say, our father Abraham, our father Jacob,
Come.
our father Isaac. We can say that. No one else in this world can say that.
Come.
That's powerful right there. You can say it, nobody else can say it. Because that assurance is on you and nobody else. But watch what he goes on and say. Read, sir.
which gave us the well,
Which gave us the well. Go on.
and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle.
Read.
Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again.
You will thirst again. But watch this.
But whosoever drinketh of the water that I give him
Go on.
shall never thirst.
Shall never thirst. Meaning never be in a position of need or want.
Come.
You see, when you're thirsty, you have want. You have need. But if you're never going to have a need or a want again, that means you're always going to be taken care of. Read on, sir.
But the water that I shall give him,
Read that again.
but the water that I shall give him,
Read.
shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting
And
life.
that water is this book, this word,
Come.
springing up in us. That's why David said, thy word have I hid. Read, sir, read.
Come. Verse 14. Select.
Blessed be the name
Verse
of
15.
Yahweh.
The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not.
So even she realized, I need what you have. Give me of this water. So she starts to speak like him. Because remember, he said, give me of the water to drink. Now she realized, I need to get, she said, give me of the water that you have now.
That's right.
Same language, basically. Read.
Neither, Salaki, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband
Go on.
and come hither.
Now, that now is a bit deep. Because that's getting into, all right, all right. What is it getting into? Let the Spirit lead you. What is it getting into?
Grace means order. Getting things in order.
What?
It's getting to where Israel has,
Say it, Doc. Come on.
how itself out.
Say that again.
It's getting about where Israel how itself out.
Absolutely.
That's right, absolutely.
I can't believe my ears. What?
Can.
Read it again, Doctor. Oh, no, don't spoil it now. No, hold it. You can talk after, but right now, you just leave that right where it is.
That's right, can.
I feel too good to go
That's right.
backpedaling on that. Leave it where it is, and we'll talk about that afterwards. Let's get back
The
in
book of John, chapter 4 and verse 16. Jesus saith unto her, Go, call thy husband and come hither.
Go on.
The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband.
See? Because he knows about her past, but see, her past is really speaking about the whole nation of the northern kingdom.
Come.
Read. That's why, Doctor, don't spoil it now. Read on.
For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband.
And even the God that you're serving now,
That's right.
he isn't the one.
Come.
Read.
In that saidest thou truly.
Go on.
The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet.
Read.
Of fathers, Salaki, our fathers worship in this mountain. And ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
Ought to worship. Now we can't touch 21. We've got to leave that alone. But you'll notice throughout this recite, she keeps on stating our fathers, our fathers, our fathers, our fathers, making it possessive. That's why we now who have woken up to this truth, you've got to get into a habit and say, well, our forefathers Abraham, our forefathers David. You've got to get used to saying that. Our foremothers Miriam, our foremothers Elizabeth. You've got to get used to making those statements.
That's right.
Because they're yours.
Come.
You're letting another nation use it freely, and you're not even arguing with them. What right you got using my ancestors for yours? It's yours. Make it possessive. We are the children of our forefathers. We are the ones that didn't keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. And he got angry with us. And he said his anger will burn forever. And therefore put us into all of those different nations that we've had to suffer and pay for our transgressions. But thanks be to Yahweh, our debt is soon going to be paid up. And we're going to be ready to take our new possession, our new glory.
That's right.
Well, we have to stop right now.
That's right.
That's right. Oh, Mr. Rollin. All right. To the Most High be the glory.
Good.
Hallelujah. Now, if there's any questions that anyone has online that they'd like to ask, you can feel free to ask those questions now. Come on. And brothers,
praise.
all right, so now I'll take your question.
Well, what I was going to say, right? I don't take the credit for it because when you say let the Spirit lead you, it just come from
All praises.
Good. Well, that means then that you've been studying to show yourself approved.
That's right.
So keep doing it now. All right. Okay. All right. So, any questions online? Any questions? Any other questions here? No questions here? Okay.
Well, I'll make one comment. Well, so this was also referred to in the Apocrypha when he said that he was going to leave the Jews and go to the other people.
Come on.
Is that First Ezra, I believe it is?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. In First Ezra chapter, Second Ezra actually, Second Ezra chapter 1, 24. Go ahead and read.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 1 and verse 24. What shall I do unto thee, O Jacob?
Go on.
Thou, Judah, wouldest not obey me.
Read.
I will turn me to other nations.
Read.
And unto those will I give my name, that they may keep my statutes.
Now, that has a double meaning, of course, but that is certainly a way that we look at this as well. Come on. All right, since we have no more questions from anyone here online, we want to say, well, thank you for tuning in with us, and we hope that you've been blessed by the teaching. We're not finished because we're going to continue it next week, Wednesday. We're going to break it up even further. We give the Most High God much praise for what he is doing. And on the behalf of myself and Captain, we want to say, Brakataya, how about Shema Mashiach Yahushua, Selah.
All praises.